Alright, how's it going, Im3 peeps? Let's do a couple of problems from this week's assignment. Okay, so number one, we have to find the trigonometric ratio. And what that means is we are trying to find the formulas for these guys. Okay, SOHCAHTOA. So again, to reminder, we're going to try to find sine, which is just opposite over hypotenuse. Then we're going to try to find cosine, which is adjacent over hypotenuse. And then we're going to find tangent, which is opposite side over adjacent side. Okay? So if you look at our problem here, number one, it's telling us we want to find the cosine, and then right after the word cosine, it tells us our reference angle. So this is a very important piece to our problem. I call this the chosen angle. Okay? And what the chosen angle does is it allows you to properly label these sides as opposite, adjacent, and the hypotenuse. So the first thing we want to do is look for the chosen angle. So this angle A. I'm going to put a little mark here. Okay? Once we put the mark, we want to label the sides. And we're going to label the sides using opposite, hypotenuse, and adjacent. Okay? So the first side I always want to label is the side across from the 90. So here's my 90 degree. Across from the 90, this would be my hypotenuse. Okay? Now this is where the chosen angle comes into play. Again, our chosen angle is given to us here. So we're now going to choose angle A, and we're going to go across from our chosen angle, and that's going to be opposite. So we're looking for opposite of our chosen angle. Okay, and then the third side that you did not label yet is always going to be your adjacent. It's very important that you label these sides because it will help us with all our future SOHCAHTOA problems. It will help us deal with this. Okay? So now, let's go ahead and look at, we want to find the cosine of angle A. So we have to memorize what's the formula for cosine of A. So cosine is A, which is adjacent. So we look for our adjacent side. Here's our adjacent side, that is 40. So it's going to go 40 on top over, and what do I need to put on the bottom? I need to put my h, which is my hypotenuse. So my hypotenuse is 50. That goes on bottom. Okay? We have just found the cosine of angle A. It's 40 over 50, but we do want to reduce. So the proper answer is, if I reduce by 10, is 4 over 5. So all we're doing is finding the formula. We're not doing any buttons of sine, cosine, or tangent into our calculator. For these problems, when it just asks you to find the ratio, they just want the fraction based on our formulas over here. Okay? So let's go ahead and do tangent using the same labeling because it's tangent of A. Again, A is still our reference. We don't have to change our labels. Tangent of A is opposite over adjacent. So my opposite is 30. My adjacent is 40. Okay, and then we reduce by 10. So that's 3 over 4. So this is the tangent of angle A. And then we go to sine of A. Sine of A is opposite over hypotenuse. So opposite again over hypotenuse. So 30 over 50. And that can be reduced. That's going to give me 3 over 5. Okay, to summarize, make sure you find your chosen angle, which will be given to you. Based on your chosen angle, label hypotenuse, opposite, then adjacent, and then plug in the numbers into your formula. Let's try number 4. So number 4, we're going to do the same idea, but we now have our chosen angle is Z, angle Z. So I'm going to put a mark on angle Z. Okay, the first side we want to label is across from the 90. So here's my 90. The side across from it is hypotenuse. Now we go to our chosen angle Z. Across from my chosen angle Z is opposite. And then your last side will be your adjacent. Okay, now let's go ahead and plug them into the formula. So cosine, we now know, is going to be adjacent over hypotenuse. So we go adjacent over hypotenuse. So 40 over 41. And then that cannot be reduced. There's your answer. Tangent of Z is going to be opposite over adjacent. So we go here, opposite over adjacent. So 9 over 40. And then sine of Z is going to be opposite over hypotenuse. So we go here, opposite over hypotenuse, 9 over 41. And we are done. Okay guys, let's try to do number 5. These are little different type of problems. We want to find the x, or the missing side, and we're going to use SOHCAHTOA to do it. So let me put SOHCAHTOA in here. Hopefully you know how to set up the fractions now. Okay. So the problem's going to start exactly the same way as the other problems. We're going to find our reference angle. So we want to find our starting angle, and then we're going to set up fractions, okay? So here's the difference. If you remember in the previous problems, our reference angle was given to us, okay? What happens here is we are not given a reference angle, like angle A or B or C. But what we can use is an angle that we know the measure to that is not 90 degrees. So we cannot use the 90-degree angle, but if you look, they give us 71 degrees. So this has now become our reference angle, okay? And we are going to label our triangle based off that reference angle. So just like we did before, across from the 90 is my hypotenuse. Across from my reference angle, so now it's 71, across from my reference angle is the side X. So this is my opposite. And then the last side would be your adjacent. Okay? So now that we have everything labeled, our next goal is to choose, are we using sine formula, cosine formula, or tangent formula? Okay? So what we're going to do is we are going to circle our variable. If you look, our variable is the opposite. Okay? Now we're going to pick one of the other two sides, 11 or adjacent, that actually has a number to it or a measurement. If you look, the only side between hypotenuse and adjacent that actually has a measurement is hypotenuse. So I'm going to circle this guy. So again, we circled our variable we're trying to solve for. It was labeled opposite. We circled this side because it actually has a measurement. It's hypotenuse. So now we want to look which formula has the formula of opposite and the hypotenuse only. So if we go here, this is opposite adjacent. That's not going to work. Okay. Here is adjacent hypotenuse. That's not going to work. But what will is sine. The reason sine works is because it uses opposite. We know opposite is x. And it uses hypotenuse. We know hypotenuse is 11. So we are going to use sine. And how does that work? We're going to set it up as sine. And instead of putting like angle letter here, we're going to put our angle measure. So our angle measure is 71. So sine 71 equals, and then we do opposite over hypotenuse. So opposite is x, and hypotenuse is 11. Okay? So how do we work this thing out? We have to go back to cross multiplication. So we want to turn this guy into a fraction because we want to cross multiply. So I'm just going to put a 1 underneath them. Always just put a 1 underneath. And now we can cross multiply. 1 times x is x. And sine of 71 times 11. The way we write this is 11 times sine of 71 degrees. Do not multiply 11 with 71. You can't do that. It's whatever sine of 71 times 11. Okay? This is actually our proper answer, but if we want decimal form, we're going to compute sine of 71. Okay? So with your calculator, you're going to, however you're going to use it, sine of 71. So I'm going to calculate that and see if your calculator gives you the same thing. Okay, so when I did sine of 71, it was 11 times, and again, I am rounding, 0.95. Okay, now I can multiply these two together. Again, if you didn't get 0.95, make sure you're putting sine of 71 correctly, and make sure your calculators is in degrees. Okay, so 0.95 times 11. And we get x equal to 10.4. And this would be your decimal answer. Okay, let's do number 10. Actually, not number 10. Let's do number 9. Okay, so number 9, we want to label first, but let's choose our chosen angle. So if you look at number 9, our chosen angle is 58 degrees, which is this guy right here. Now, if we know that, we can label. Across from my 90 is my hypotenuse. Across from my chosen angle is my opposite. And then the last guy is my adjacent. Okay? Circle your variable first. So my variable is actually the adjacent. And now circle the other side that actually has a measure. In this case, opposite has the measure. So we need to find the formula that uses opposite and adjacent only. Let's look at our list over here. Opposite and adjacent, that is tangent. So for this problem, we will be using tangent. So let's set this up. So it's going to be tangent. And again, we need to put our angle measure. So our angle measure or our angle name is 58 degrees. Equals, and tangent is opposite over adjacent. So 11 over x. Okay, and now we can put a 1 underneath this guy and cross multiply to solve. So I like to do the x guy first. So this times tangent 58 times x. So is going to be x times tangent 58. Think of tangent 58 as one total number. Okay, so you can't split these guys apart. And then we're going to go 1 times 11, so equals 11. All right, now to solve for x here, since x is multiplying with tangent 58, to get rid of tangent 58, I want to divide both sides by tangent 58. This cancels, and x is going to equal 11 divided by tangent of 58 degrees. Again, the key is treating this tangent of 58 like one whole number. So you divide everything, not just the 58. You divide tangent of 58 because it's one whole number. Okay? Now we just got to compute this, and we're good to go. So let's compute this. So x is going to equal 11 over, now let's compute tangent of 58. With your calculator, that gives me 1.6. Okay, and now we're going to go 11 divided by 1.6. X is going to equal 6.875. Okay, hopefully these help. Have a good one.